Phil Poblano. I'm the Veterans Outreach Coordinator for Calaveras County. I'm up here just to show you a little slideshow of what we do and how we do it down in Valley Springs. Our office is manned by 4 people. First one is Brian. He's the Veterans Service Officer for the county. The second is, and he's a Navy guy. Next one is Angela. She's our Veterans Service Rep. She's Marine Corps. Myself, I'm Phil Poblano, and I was in the Navy for a long time. And then we have a program coordinator, Neil Parrish, and he handles all the out programs that we have and the groups. So it's a nice group. We work together really well, and we're out always trying to find our veterans, and that's the reason for this few minutes. Our mission statement is easy. The Calaveras County Veterans Service Office is a county office established by the Board of Supervisors back in 1946 to assist veterans, their dependents, and survivors, and the general public in obtaining benefits from federal, state, and local agencies administering programs for veterans. Our purpose is to provide advocacy to the veteran community regarding entitlement to federal, state, and local benefits, and assist in dealing with the Veterans Affairs. That's VA. There's some interesting things that are going on that I think is always important. One is, according to the census.gov, roughly 19 million Americans. That's down from 26 million in 2018, or 7% of the population served in the armed forces at one time or another. This includes 1.7 million women. So they're increasingly going into the service. By service, period, if they were from post 9/11, veterans are the youngest median age, and they're typically around 37 years old. The Vietnam veterans, like myself, we're about 71. And the World War II vets are the oldest with a median age of 93. What's interesting is that in 2018, there was about 1 million World War II veterans. They're down to about 500,000 that's left. There are about 1.8 million veterans in California alone, the largest population of veterans in the country. Calaveras County, there are approximately 4,400. That's based on the census. That includes over 20 people who have Purple Hearts, Medal of Honor, or POW medals. So there's a lot of people here. I tend to think that there's more closer to 10,000, because every veteran I meet knows 2 or 3 veterans that are here in the county, and nobody talks to them. And we find them and we add them to the rolls. So in 2018, there was 21,534 veterans that were released from armed active service that were in California. So that's about the size of how it grows. So there's a lot of veterans that we know about. There's a lot of veterans that we don't know about. If you're a veteran and you haven't talked to us at one time or another, this is the time to talk to us, because we're here for you. That's the only reason we exist. We're not paid by VA, we're not paid by anybody. We're paid by the county. So our job is to basically make sure that we reach out to every veteran, homeless, not homeless, food insecure, anything. And our job is to help you. We'll help you get to the doctor. We'll help you do a lot of things, because we want to make sure that you're getting the benefits that you deserve for the service that you gave. So in the county, this is some of the things that we do. We work with a lot of people to make sure we're taking care of our veterans. One way is by making sure that they're getting their mental health, if there's any challenges with that. There's a lot of people that have PTSD, a lot of veterans. So they may not know it, they may not understand it, but our job is to make sure that they have lots of ways to find solutions for mental health, whether it's in the county or not. County has a great program. We just try and work with it. We also try and help with housing. So if there's a veteran out there that's in need of housing in the county or even outside the county, we try and help as much as we can. We work with a lot of the agencies within the county that offers housing. along with some of the civilian people that do that also. We also have an incarceration group. So I work with the county and a few of the judges. So we have Veterans Court. We have a veterans well, if they have a problem with drugs, we try and help them that way too. So we can find the veteran that's kind of right on the brink of getting himself in a lot of trouble, and we can work with them for anywhere from 6 months to 18 months to try and get them out of that group. We have mentors that work with us that are veterans, that work with other veterans to make sure that they're finding the help that they need. We also have a way to help with employment. Just being in the community, we know that in our community, there's not a lot of manufacturing, but there are jobs. So we had a veteran that came in the other day. He was looking, he had just gotten out of the Air Force a few months ago, was looking for a job. We happen to know that the post office is hiring, so that's where we sent him. There are other employers throughout the county that we know, and they tell us when they need employees, we help. We're helping Sierra Lumber in Sonora. So we send veterans over there to get jobs. So it depends. If we know somebody that's looking, we try and help them. The last is resources. We try and help a veteran if he has trouble with VA. VA over the years has always been kind of a bad word, but they've really changed. They're changing, they're growing. Their medical staff is fantastic. It's not that far away, and I'll show that in a second. One of the things that's important, though, is to look at what we're doing in Calaveras by the county and how we're changing people's lives. So you see in Calaveras, we figure we have 4,000. That's about the roughly 4,400 people. So just our office alone, we saw 872 people last year. That's about 73 to 75 a month that were coming in the doors. We don't know who they were. They're coming to us for the first time. We talked to people by email and by phone, about 1,900 people. So that's about 160 people we talked to for the first time through the office. And then our claims, we did about 34 new claims per month, or 400 a year, which netted the county about $3 million in new tax-based revenue. So if you think that's a lot, and most of the average awards were about $7,500. So the $3 million, that's the reason that we're here, is because the county feels that this is an easy way to help in our county money. So that's $3 million that they didn't have the year before that now is circulating through the county. Veterans Service Officer, we obtained $3 million in new awards for veterans in fiscal year 21 and 22, more than twice the amount obtained in the prior fiscal year. Federal dollars brought to the Calaveras County economy. The return on investment between the county, $15.47 for every $1 that they spent for us to work. It's a great return on investment for the county, and it's great for the veterans. These are people that didn't have help before that now are getting help. What's important too, and this is just from January till March of this year, we've already seen about 77 people a month, 57 a month in people just showing up at the office. We've seen about 20 people, new people, from some outreach programs that we have. We've already submitted 85 claims a month this year alone. We've done 25 compensation claims. What's also interesting is that we've received $158,000 in retroactive awards. This means that the veteran said, hey, I'm sick today. By the time VA says, we agree and we're going to pay you monthly stipend for your disability, we saw an extra $158,000. So they get paid all the way back to the first time they see us. The other thing that was interesting is that the monetary value of the college fee waiver we're actually trying to work with veterans to go to college. So we've actually awarded about $75,000 in free college to veterans. So that's what they would have paid, but the VA is paying it instead so they can go back to college. Also good for their children. So it really is substantial. Here's something we're quite proud of, the fact that these are total lifetime benefits. So these are benefits that go for the rest of their lives. You can see, this is 2012, we were a little about $500,000, $750,000 in the county. We had part-time people, there was only 2 of them, I think, and they really were just doing what they could. Versus today, well, this is 21 and 22, we were actually bringing in about $8 million into the economy. So $3 million is what we see that we've brought into the economy, but the veterans, produced by all the claims that we've had, this is the money that keeps growing in the economy. So we brought in actually about $8 million worth of total revenue to the county. That includes jobs, that includes everything that makes the veteran viable. So is it worth it to talk to veterans? If you meet one and you say, hey, you're a veteran? Yep, let's talk to the Veterans Service guys down in Valley Springs. They're here to help you. I mentioned that the county or the VA has changed. So they changed a lot. So in Northern California, this is when you used to go to the VA from here, you had to go to Palo Alto. So it's 4 hours plus traffic, plus you had to find a place to stay. It was really kind of bad. But they've changed all the boundaries around. So if you didn't know, Mather, which is in Rancho Cordova, about an hour from here, that's now the main facility. With Martinez, their second hospital within the zone. So what ends up happening is there's more facilities here that are available to veterans than in Palo Alto, so we can serve a lot of people. But in our general area, there's Stockton. If you come up by French Camp, you see they're building a big building right next to the old hospital. That's the new VA hospital. So that will be in our area. It's about an hour from here. It has housing, it's got an ER, they'll have your hearing tests. I mean, it really has a lot of stuff, glasses. It'll be a full service, basically a full service hospital. There's one that's the one in Stockton. And then we have Sonora. So Sonora has a nice place over there. And we also have one in Modesto. So there's a lot just in the VA for Northern California. The one thing that I know we're working on is they're working on a bus system. So they do have a bus that leaves from Sonora every day and goes to Mather. So we're trying to work with them so that they'll stop here in San Andreas on the way down to Mather and Valley Springs, because they have veterans that can't drive as they get older. And if we can get them there and come back, that's good. Just to let you know that Calaveras County does I'm trying to think of the name of the Common Grounds. They actually will drive VA patients all the way to Mather as long as they know enough in advance. So it's like 2-3 weeks. If you know you have a thing, you call them. If they can do it, Common Grounds will take you over there. In fact, I followed one yesterday when I went to VA. Common Grounds truck. So there's also the medical center in Palo Alto and the one in Livermore. Livermore will be closing. It's been around since World War II. It's really a staple. But what they're doing is they're building another building, a huge one in, I think it's Dublin or Pleasanton, so that will service that part of the county or the area for Palo Alto. And it plans to be but a lot bigger than that one. It's just, there's a lot of history behind that building. So there's also other facilities. There's Menlo Park, Capitola, Fremont, Marina, San Jose, Concord Veteran Center, Menlo Park Veteran Center, and a Citrus Heights Veteran Center. VA is really taking the time and energy to get out to the community. They've realized all the veterans that they're not dealing with, the amount of injuries that have happened while they were in service is increasing. So it's important that they get out. They're doing it. I know when I went to the VA in 1983, I went in one time and said, I'll never go back. This is crazy. You know, it was lunacy. But when I went back again in 2008, it was a lot better. And since then, it's fantastic. I go in there and I had some surgery. I was treated better than I think I would have been treated at any civilian hospital. They cared about how I felt. They cared about my pain. They cared about aftercare. That's what you want from VA. That's what they're giving. I've had the same doctor for 7 years. So there's very, very good. What we do also in the county is we do a lot of support groups. Neil Parrish is our program coordinator. And our job here is simple. We want to meet the veterans. Veterans talking to veterans always helps. Even if it's just a little session around some water. The veterans talk. I was at a meeting the other day up in Murphy's at Ebbets Pass at the Lions Club building, and there was, I think, 6 or 7 of us, and we had a great time talking about a lot of stuff, but we always walked away knowing more people than we did before we walked in, and we actually exchanged some information that was pretty interesting about VA. So we have one right now in Copperopolis down at the fire district, and that's the first and third Mondays of the month. Second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, it's in Ebbets Pass by Murphy's, and then Valley Springs the first and third Tuesdays of every month. Something that we're opening is a support group. Didn't have the other one, I put it in there. So we actually are starting a women's group, just for women. It's starting down in Valley Springs. There's 3 or 4 women that are already coming. So we're trying to find and reach out to the female part of the military and show them that we care what happens to them too. Just to let you see a couple things that are changing. CalVet now has no down payment requirements for CalVet for any of the veterans in the state. Expanded eligibility now ready. Any veteran wanting to buy a home in California is eligible to use CalVet loans. Great loans, very low down payments, and they have sweat equity deals. They have a lot of good stuff. But it represents 1.6 million California veterans with different loan programs focused just on California veterans. They understand how expensive homes are, and so they have a lot of programs to help do that, and refinancing and things like that. One of the other things that's happening, veteran homes. Some of the veterans that are getting older need places to stay with their spouses, so there are now 8 long-term care and aged and disabled veterans homes throughout California. And my understanding, I think they're building 2 more. So they're trying to help the veterans. They're big facilities, not small ones. And so there's a place for everybody if that need arises. If you remember the designation on your new California ID, the real ID, now it used to cost you $5 to put the veteran on there for the veterans. The only way we could tell people we're veterans, we usually pull out some other ID, a veteran's card or military retirement card or something, and some people just didn't have it. So now it doesn't cost anything, it's free. And you can go in and tell them I'm a veteran, show them the DD-214, which shows that you got out of the service, and guess what? It's free, and that's the only card you have to show. Use your driver's license, and it will say you're a veteran. So that's happened. Something else that's exciting is toll roads. Anywhere in California, if you're a veteran and you have the disabled plate, right? Toll roads are free. Okay? So exempt vehicles with license plates issued to a disabled veteran, Pearl Harbor survivor, POW, or veterans who have received distinctions like the Purple Heart Congressional Medal of Honor from paying tolls on roads, bridges, and highways, vehicular crossings, and other toll facilities. So you used to be able to go between, in the Delta, there's those little ferries, they're free. It doesn't apply to the express lanes, for fast tracks. It doesn't apply to that. Oh, I know. But you can go across the Golden Gate Bridge a whole bunch of times. And I've done it. I have friends that come over and say, hey, you want to go to San Francisco? And I'll take them and I'll go across that or the Bay Bridge. There's no tolls. So that's very nice. You have to have the thing, you don't have to pay for it. It's a great benefit. Something that's changed within VA lately is the PACT Act. So a lot of veterans that were from Vietnam era had Agent Orange and some other toxic issues. They've decided that now what's happening, instead of having to prove that you have these symptoms and that you're sick, the fact that you were in the service and stationed automatically qualifies. The presumption is now that you were there and that yes, you were exposed, and it takes a lot of that away. So just to remind you one more time about the office. Again, we're down in Valley Springs at the Veterans Service Center. Brian, Angela, myself, and Neil, we're here to help you. We deal with the VFW, American Legion, and basically anybody that is a veteran that needs help. We're there to help them. One last thing is, no duty is more urgent than that of returning our thanks. So that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that we're saying thank you to the veterans that we meet. We see them a lot. Of course, it's a Navy picture, but I'm not biased at all. But I put a few flags up like that, so it's a good honor to see it like that. But if you see people that were in the service, don't hesitate to say thank you. Typically, they'll have the hats on. You can always tell a military guy has got hats on. Hair might be all over the place, but he's usually got his hat and it's squared away. So, are there any questions?
I don't have a question at this moment, but I am really happy that you're doing a female support group.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's just times when it's easier to talk
Mm-hmm.
if it's only women or if it's only men.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important. So now when I see female veterans, you bet I'm going to be sending them to your group, because I honestly don't know how anybody can serve and see any action whatsoever and not have PTSD.
I agree.
I don't know how you ever feel safe again.
Yeah, I agree. And it's we can always tell veterans that have that may have it don't know it, because their eyes are always looking for everything. They're always watching everybody around. That's one little sure sign that I've found. But yeah, there's lots of women that are been in the military. I know at church on Veterans Day, I asked for all the veterans to stand up, and I was very surprised that there was about 8 women. One had been a nurse in Vietnam, but you would have never known it unless the guys, you kind of expect them to all stand up, and you kind of almost know who they are. But when the women stood up, we were all pretty impressed, and we gave them a lot of respect after that. So it's impressive when the women are willing to come together, and that's what we're really trying to do, because there's a program within VA that targets just the female veteran, and they're really trying to locate them, find them, make sure that there's no problems, and so they have task forces for everything. And it's pretty impressive when we see the bulletins come out to what they're trying to do for to get the female population to stand up and get noticed and be counted. So it's important. We're pretty impressed.
So can any female veteran attend that meeting if they're out of the county of Calaveras?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Again, the way we look at it is you meet one, probably they know 2 more.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the guys. You meet one guy that's a veteran, he probably has 2 or 3 friends, or his brother or his dad, and we get a lot of that. Yeah. My neighbor's a veteran, and so invite him down. Well, we didn't even know he existed. That's one more for the county, but especially with the women, they tend to know one another. They just are quiet, and we don't want them to be quiet.
Now, did you say that the can go to the veteran's child as
Yes.
well?
Yes, if they're under 26 and they're a veteran, they get the children get the same fee waiver. I have a son that was living with us way back when, and our youngest, and he went to college at Sac State, and he didn't have to pay any of the typical tuition that a normal student. He got college fee waivers.
Oh, that's
So
great.
it really, really works good. And there's a lot of organizations like the VFW. The VFW every year has about 500 scholarships that they hand out. We don't hear much about them, but they're trying to find veterans. So they have one where if your grandfather, your uncle was a veteran, you can write a short story, submit it, and if they choose it, then that becomes also a scholarship. So there's a lot of things, a lot of other entities are trying to do to make sure that the educational benefits are there. And so it's just a matter of just finding the veteran and asking the questions. That's what we spend a lot of time doing, asking questions. You can go back to college. Do you know that we can help you find a place to live? Do you need some medical help? Do you have substance abuse? I mean, these are typical questions that we're asking whenever we meet a veteran, period. So anybody comes down, that's what they get. But the benefits are forever. And that's the best part of it, because we're changing somebody's life and makes them glad to be in the county. We've heard a lot of the veterans say, I didn't know any of this existed. And it's been here since the 40s, but you're right. And it's federally mandated that the counties have somebody, every county in the country has somebody that is a veteran service officer. My son just moved to Fernley, Nevada. I connected him with the person that's in Reno that covers Fernley. But we're also helping him here in Calaveras because we have all his records, and I live here, so it works.
Your son's a veteran.
Pardon me?
You're saying your son.
Yeah, he was in the Army. So I mean, those are the things that we can do, and we've helped people that were in Costa Rica. We've given them some access because they're veterans, expats living down there. So we give some suggestions on where they can get help. We're here to help, whatever. I've been known to give veterans rides to Mather. Don't do it much, but if they're just down and they can't find anybody to do it, we want to get some help, pile them in the car, and take them over there.
And are you still bringing the vans up once in a while, like the dental and medical vans?
Well, we do a dental outreach. We haven't done any of the programming to get ready for it for this year, but we did last year in Copperopolis with Dr. Shannon Russell. And they, first impressions, they did, we had a whole day and gave away any veteran that came up that showed that he was a veteran, get for free dental work that day. I think he did about $17,000 worth of dental work for free that day. Had some other dentists come in, and veterans that we talked to one that hadn't had dentures for 30 years. Bingo. He got dentures. One had a wife that was needing some care, so we helped her. So that's what we do in the community. We also bring up the vans from Palo Alto. It's a huge mobile home, and since they're changing Northern California around, that one's out of Palo Alto. We were part of Palo Alto, so we had access to it. Mather's getting theirs built, so as soon as they get theirs built, we'll bring it in here. And what it is a big mobile home office with a doctor's office in it. And so it comes with a doctor and usually a PA.
Oh, nice.
And so they come and they help veterans. So we start telling everybody, for free, come down, see the doctor, come see the doctor. True story is the first day I started working, I was pretty sick. And they had the medical van in Valley Springs come up. And so I walked in and says, I had sinus problems, I was really out of sorts. Got some nose stuff. They approved my getting some medicine from CVS. I mean, saw the doctor, saw the PA, got all set up in the system. And 6 months later, they called to make sure I was okay. It's just the way the process runs. So it works. It really does. Anything else?
As far as the burn pits go now, is anybody who got exposed to those burn pits also automatically getting accepted and being approved for the diseases that happen because of that?
That's part of the PACT Act.
Okay.
So if we're in Afghanistan, we just have to show that they were in Afghanistan or Iraq, or I have a couple of veterans that were in the Navy that were actually offshore when Iraqi's oil fields were being burned. And so they have, breathing problems now. They're automatically presumed that they were there and that, yes, they had that exposure. So any diseases that come from that are covered. So we don't have too many that try and fool us because it's all in their records. So we see that they were there and bingo. That's part of the PACT Act, they're covered. And so things develop over time, then they're covered. But if they're veterans and we don't know about them and they don't know about VA and they don't know about the PACT Act and yet they complain, we just, tell them, come on, go down to VA and we'll set you up, and it's amazing what we can do.
Well, my dad went to the VA in Wisconsin and he always swore by it, so.
They're great. There are the stories but like any hospital that has problems, little politics here and there, doctors not doing what they can, stuff like that. But the overall experience has really changed, and that's what's important. And the county supports it. That's important, And we're paid by the county, and all we do is knock on doors all day long and find veterans. So.
I think when I first started with the Commission on Aging, when we had one in this county, there was a half-time Veterans Services person, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the fact you guys actually have more than one person in an actual office and space is amazing.
And desks and a phone with a phone that works, yeah. We're pretty impressed, yeah. Have a county car, that's pretty nice. But no, I think when you see the numbers, and the county supervisors see the numbers, and we show it to them, usually the first, it's a little shock and awe. Oh my gosh, you really have that kind of support in the county? Yeah, and we're talking about that many people.
But lots of money.
That are bringing in lots of money.
There's lots of money, and
Yeah.
that's the motivation for the county to support you.
If you think that if we just doubled the numbers of veterans we're talking to, it'd triple the amount of money coming into the county. So it's pretty impressive when you look at all that. Plus, we're kind of a small county, but we've also talked about building housing out here, where there's a commission, and I'm on that commission for housing for veterans. So if they build some affordable housing, we want to make sure that there's a couple for veterans and stuff like that. So a lot of the apartment buildings around here are part of the veterans. They give a discount for veterans and things like that. It's amazing, especially when you look at, if you're a veteran, I'll go into Wingstop and get something to eat. Do you have veterans? Yep, 10% off. Go to Lowe's, 10%. Go to Home Depot, 10%. It's there. Use it. Veterans usually don't. They don't know about it, so they don't use it. So we try and educate them to make sure. But there's so much that's offered to veterans. If they would just ask, they'll get it.
Good to know.
Even barbershops will give free haircuts to veterans
Oh, we are.
in our county.
All too well of it. The barber shops, I think there's a few.
There's a couple.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah.
Alice Springs is one.
Yep. And that's where I get my haircut.
Yeah, right, right next door.
So, anything else I can answer? I know it's an interesting subject to do. There's a lot of things that you don't see that I didn't talk about, but the point is, if you contact us and you have groups that you want to get together, we're doing it. I know that in Angels Camp on Saturday, tomorrow, they're having a Veterans Welcome Back dinner at Grace Covenant Church. I think it's Grace Community Covenant Church. And so they're having veterans, and it's a free meal for the veteran and a spouse.
And you kind of touched on this with the assisted living
Mm-hmm.
communities that are being built, but the veterans can also help with in-home care,
Yes,
correct?
yes. If you're there's a couple things that are offered. One is a pension based on income, and these for any veteran, and also if they need some aid and attendance. So we have a couple veterans that our World War II veterans that they get about I think it's 8 hours a week. I think the VA pays for somebody to come in and make sure that the house is tidy, they're getting a meal, they're okay, and that's ongoing.
I have a friend who used that service, and apparently your program will only allow a certain quality or standard or whatever it was for home health aides to come in, and there's only one that qualifies to be paid by the VA that serves Calaveras County.
There's actually more now.
There's more now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because we only had one, and that was it.
Yeah. And
So,
this was a few years ago.
yeah, and so we have 3 or 4 that I know of that are actually
That are legit.
legit.
enough for
Oh
you
yeah,
guys to
oh yeah.
pay for.
Iron Point and a few others.
Okay.
So yeah,
Comfort keepers.
Comfort Keepers.
Comfort is one has been, because it's statewide and international. I
Yeah,
think.
national. So there's a couple others. One out of Sonora that comes over here. So they're doing it. But again, if we don't know we have veterans that have the need, so we only tell them we have 5 veterans that ask for the help, you'll get that many people to help. If you say I have 50 or I have 100 people that need help, the hands start going out and they start bringing people in. So it's all the number. It's kind of a numbers thing, but it works.
So how many World War II veterans do we have in the county?
From the last I know, there was about 300.
That's a lot.
Yeah, about 300. I know we did a proclamation last year for 5 of them. And so one that's a World War II vet, POW, from the German side, and then he lives on Pool Station Road. Another one on Pool Station Road that was in Guadalcanal, Peleliu, Tarawa, Saipan, on a ship. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. And the benefit I get out of it is I get to listen to lots of stories. And I it's really amazing when you sit back and go, wow. And that's what they do for you when you got back, not a thing. Now we're trying to help them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I'm Amy with Comfort Keepers, and I do those assessments with
good.
our veterans that qualify for that program, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty great program. I've World War II, Vietnam, and all the way to Desert Storm now. So I have done a couple assessments with Desert Storm
Yep.
veterans, and that's amazing to me because they're still very young.
They're their average age is 37, and I'm young for the Vietnam veterans. I'm 69, and so it's like, yeah, and so I'm younger than most. But I was there at the tail end, 73 and 75. So
I was gonna say right after that, I think the mandatory draft dropped off.
it dropped out in 72, 71, something like that. So yeah, the judge told me I had to go in the service, keep me out of trouble.
Well, it worked.
It worked. I spent 11 years, and so I enjoyed every minute of it. So it's rather nice. And some of the veterans, you get to talk to them, they'll tell you stories. If they tell stories and the average person goes, no, that didn't happen. But the reality is, yeah, it did happen. And that's the reason veterans talking to veterans work. Because they know that no story's too crazy. I mean, I can tell you a story of 2 ships that collided, and I was on one of them, but you talk about it and you go, that doesn't happen. It happened more than once. So it's just the way things are. Military people talking to military people is always positive. So I'm glad you're working for Comfort Keepers. I'm glad you're up here helping, because we try and find as many as we can. And we don't have a quota. It's how many we can send out, we do.
I have 2 new ones I need to do an assessment with. So.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it today.
So
I'm
if you,
assuming you contact anybody who makes home visits.
we try, but it's tough. I can't talk to everybody. So it's really the fact that the peer support that's here in the county, if they're seeing somebody, the first question out of their mouth should be, are you a veteran? Same with Comfort Keepers. Are you a veteran? Because if we don't know you exist, there's nothing we can do. And we don't do no door to door. So it's stuff like this that works. Go ahead.
I did door to door. I was a public health nurse and a home health nurse.
Uh-huh.
And I worked for Calaveras County, not the county, but I was working for an organization for like comfort keepers.
Uh-huh.
And the stories I would get from these guys,
Uh-huh.
they were born and raised in Calaveras County, recruited World War II, went after. A lot of them were World War II. And that was the only time they were out of the county. And then they came back to Calaveras County.
Mhm.
And they stayed there. And they were in their 70s, 80s, maybe 90s when
Mhm.
I met them. And that was back in the early 80s.
Mhm. There's a lot. There
It's
was,
just amazing.
It's amazing.
They're embedded in here and you don't see them.
most of the time, if you see somebody who looks too young to be part of World War II, he's probably in Korea. So we have a lot of Korea vets in the county.
Yeah.
So again, our goal is to find everyone we can. So every question, your friends, hey, my husband was a veteran. Hey, well, let's talk. You know, because if we don't know they exist, we don't know. And we work a lot with the jails too. So when somebody is incarcerated, one of the first questions they ask, are you a veteran? If they are, then they get in touch with us.
How has the Veterans Court worked out?
It's just starting. With COVID, it stopped.
Oh, okay.
And so now it's starting all back up. The judges are back on board. They're excited about the program. There's a couple of parts we have to make sure that are correct, because there's a mentoring part to it. There's, it isn't a 2-week course. It takes up to 18 months.
So are either of the judges veterans themselves?
I don't know.
No.
I have no idea. But I go to all the meetings that they have about Veterans Court and other issues. I know probation stands behind us 100%. And so we hear a lot about that. But every time I've been in the meetings with all the local police departments show up. 2 of the judges are always there. There is a person that's the administrative that talks to all of us. And they're more than happy to do it. If they can save a veteran. I mean, there was a law that was enacted last year, I think it was, and it said that if any charges happened and we didn't know they were a vet, they can be re-examined.
Oh, nice.
So, and see if that played a part in whatever the problem was.
Yeah.
And that helps for domestic violence, that helps for a lot of stuff. And we find a lot of veterans that way too. So they were in trouble, they were sentenced. We're talking to them again, hey, we found that the reason they're in there was something that happened in the service while they were serving, and we try and work with them. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind that. And in that case, that's when you look and say, there's only 4 of us. There's not enough. You only have 8 hours a day to work. And there could be 3 people like me doing it just in Calaveras. And other counties are too. 2 people that do outreach.
So could you talk a little bit more about the Veterans Court, what you do?
Well, Veterans Court, they look for a veteran that's not, it doesn't have a felony. So somebody that has a misdemeanor, or somebody that's getting in trouble, we start to help. If they're drunk in public, DUI, any of that stuff, then we try and get, so the idea behind Veterans Court is to start to mentor them out of that. So we team them up with a veteran to mentor, to make sure they're okay. If they need substance abuse help, we try and help with that if we can. If the county has a program, we use it. If they don't, VA does have a program, we use it. So it just depends on what the thing is. And then after a certain amount of time, if they've successfully gone through the program, then their charges are either dismissed or they're not charged. So there's some benefits to it.
That there's gonna be instances where maybe a behavior happens because of PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
that the Veterans Court will take that into consideration and realize we've got not a criminal here, we've got somebody who needs mental health.
That's absolutely what it's for. That's absolutely what they're looking for. That's it. I mean, that's all we're trying to do is if they've got a problem, what is the problem? Is drinking from PTSD? Well, if sometimes we talk to me, oh yeah, I'm 30% or 50% disabled with PTSD from VA. We don't know who they are. So now it's time for us to say, well, you need to go back to the program. We need to help. How can we do that? We know where AA meetings are, NA meetings, and all that other. So we know who in the county they can go to. They can go to Sacramento. And VA has programs in Texas. They have programs up in Palo Alto, Mather. So we have lots of resources.
Get in touch with you if they're gonna move too, so they can get things set up ahead of time for
Absolutely.
their new location.
Absolutely. And, you know, for anything, we're here to help.
All right.
Great. Wow, I'm impressed.
I was impressed. I retired and then I heard about this and I said, that's giving back to the community. So after I retired, I just said, this is a good thing to help. So that's where it's at. You know, I'm not volunteering. I get paid like everybody else, but I'm impressed that the county has the program, that the county has the people. We're part of HHSA, which is the Health and Human Services part of the county. So that's the mental health and child endangering and all that stuff. We're here in that group. So we see a lot and we hear a lot. And I'm impressed with what the county is willing to do to make sure that we're helping veterans. I found out that there's now been a couple of donations where we can actually help pay for veterans that are going to VA if they don't have a ride and they find somebody that'll give them a ride. We have a way to pay them for their mileage.
Oh, good.
So I mean, there's little things like that. It's not for everybody, but we're trying to help as much as we can with anything that we can do. So we have, like I said, we have barbers, we have restaurants that say, hey, if you have somebody that needs something, just bring them in. We'll feed them if that's what they need. So there's a lot of help out there. And a lot of businesses, you just say veterans and they go, yeah, the boss is a veteran. Well, we didn't know that. So it is, it really is. So I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate the questions. There's a lot more, but all you have to do is call and find out where we're at or what you need, and we're there to help.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Darn it.
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun in the Navy. Went a lot of places and did a lot of cool things. So little guy from Orange County and East LA, and I would have never seen the countries I did or drive ships, and I was a recruiter for a while, I was a cop for a while, and been on 2 or 3 big ships. So it's kind of interesting when you think I drove aircraft carriers.
Wow.
So.
I bet.
But you talk to another Navy guy and he goes, I did that all the time. So then you go, well, okay, put you in your place. So anyway, I'm always available. So if you have any questions, you can just call down to the Veterans Services. There's phone numbers everywhere, so we can do it. And I think the last thing I mentioned is remember that there is the 988. You can dial 988
Oh, that's important.
and hit 1, and it'll take you to the Veterans Outreach. So.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So we're here to help as much as we can, and suicide prevention is a big part of what we do and why we do it. We know we've helped a few people. So.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That was painless. See? Thank you.